The wind carried dust across the settlement as Thomas stepped out of his transport pod. 63 years old and too tired to pretend otherwise. His knees ached from the journey. His back reminded him of every mistake he'd made in his younger days. The colony outpost looked exactly like the brochure promised, which is to say it looked like the end of nowhere. He'd signed up for the frontier kitchen work because Earth had nothing left for him. Martha had been gone 5 years now. The kids had their own lives in the inner systems. What was he going to do? Sit in their old apartment and watch the walls close in? The administrator met him at the landing pad. Young fellow. Couldn't have been more than 30. Thomas Brennan? The young man asked. That's right. Good to have you, sir. We're desperate for someone who can actually cook. The food printers are fine, but people want real meals, you know? Something with a soul in it. Thomas nodded. He understood that. Martha used to say the same thing. A meal made with hands had something a machine could never quite capture. I'll show you to the kitchen facility, the administrator said. Oh, and we've got someone already working there. She doesn't say much, but she keeps everything clean. I think you two will get along fine. They walked through the main compound. Everything was prefab and practical. Gray walls, efficient lighting, the kind of place that made you appreciate a home-cooked meal even more. The kitchen was tucked behind the mess hall, larger than Thomas expected. Industrial stoves, good counter space. Someone had organized the pots and pans on hooks along the wall. Professional, clean. He approved. That's when he saw her. She stood by the prep counter. Blue skin, not painted, actually blue. Her hands were the same azure shade. She wore a simple apron over work clothes and a scarf wrapped around her head. When she turned to look at him, her eyes were startling. Bright, intelligent. Thomas had seen plenty of alien species over the years. The galaxy was a big place, but something about her stillness made him pause. She looked at him the way a deer might look at a hunter. Ready to bolt. The administrator cleared his throat. This is Alara. She's one of our refugees from the Kelson system. She helps out around the kitchen. Alara nodded once, said nothing. Alara, this is Thomas. He's going to be our new head cook. Another nod. Still silent. The administrator lingered a moment, then excused himself. Something about supply manifests. Thomas barely heard him leave. He was studying the kitchen, studying her. Finally, he spoke. I'm going to need help if I'm cooking for 100 people 3 times a day. Ilara's voice came soft, hesitant. I don't talk much, sir, but I can cook. Thomas shrugged. Works for me. Something changed in her eyes. Not quite relief. More like a door opening just a crack. The first few days they worked in comfortable quiet. Thomas would point to what he needed. Ilara would have it ready before he asked twice. She moved around the kitchen like water. Efficient. Graceful. Never in the way. He noticed things. The way she flinched at loud noises. How she always kept her back to the wall when others were in the room. The careful way she handled the knives. Like someone who knew what it meant to need a weapon. On the 4th day, Thomas was making stew. His mother's recipe. The one he'd made for Martha when she was sick. When she couldn't keep much down, but would always try a few spoonfuls of this. Ilara watched him work. He added the herbs. Let them steep. Tasted. Added a touch more salt. My mother taught me this, Thomas said, not looking at her. Just talking. She said food is how we show love when words aren't enough. Ilara was quiet so long he thought she wouldn't respond. Then, my mother said the same. Different words. Same meaning. She a good cook. Thomas asked, the best on our world. A pause. Before the war, Thomas nodded, kept stirring. Didn't push. Over the weeks they fell into rhythm. Thomas would prepare the main dishes. Ilara handled the vegetables with a precision that spoke of training. Real training. She could dice an onion faster than anyone he'd ever seen, could test bread dough with a single touch and know if it needed more time. One evening after the dinner rush, Thomas found her crying. Quiet tears. The kind you cry when you think no one's watching. He didn't ask. Just made 2 cups of tea the way his grandmother had taught him. Set one beside her. Sat on the other stool and looked out the small kitchen window at the stars. You ever have that thing, Thomas said after a while, where you're doing something simple, peeling potatoes maybe, and suddenly you remember someone who's gone, and it hits you all over again. Elara's voice was rough. Every day. Gets a little easier, Thomas said. Not much, but a little. They took everything, sir. My family, my home. I watched and I couldn't stop it. Thomas sipped his tea. I lost my wife 5 years ago. Cancer. I watched too. Held her hand. Couldn't stop that either. They sat in silence. You know what I learned? Thomas said. Can't bring them back. But you can honor them. Keep living. Keep doing the things that matter. Keep feeding people. Keep showing love the way you know how. Elara looked at him. Really looked. Is that enough? Some days, Thomas said. Some days it has to be. The months passed. The kitchen became theirs. A domain they ruled with flour-dusted hands and the smell of fresh bread. People started requesting seconds, thirds. The mess hall became less of a chore and more of a gathering place. One morning Thomas came in to find Elara already working. She'd started a soup. He tasted it, closed his eyes. This is good, he said. Really good. What is it? Something from home, Elara said. I thought maybe people here would like it too. They're going to love it. She smiled. Actually smiled. Thomas realized it was the first time he'd seen it. It transformed her whole face. You should cook more of your food, Thomas said. Teach me. We'll add it to the rotation. You'd want that? Elara, you're one of the best cooks I've ever worked with, and I've worked with plenty. Your food deserves to be shared. She was quiet a moment, then nodded over the next weeks. She taught him dishes from her world, complex spice blends, techniques he'd never seen. Stories came with the recipes, memories of festivals and family gatherings, of a mother who sang while she cooked, of a brother who always burned the rice. Thomas shared his own stories, teaching her his mother's biscuits, his grandmother's pie crust, the Christmas cookies Martha used to make every December without fail. The kitchen filled with more than food. It filled with the ghosts of people they'd loved, and somehow that made it warmer, more alive. One evening as they cleaned up, Elara spoke. I never thanked you, sir. For what? For not asking questions. For just letting me be. For teaching me it's okay to still be here. Thomas dried a pot, hung it carefully on its hook. We take care of each other, Elara. That's what good people do. She nodded. My mother would have liked you. Martha would have liked you too, Thomas said. She always said the best people are the ones who know sorrow but choose kindness anyway. They finished cleaning in their comfortable silence. Outside, the settlement was settling in for the night. Inside, the kitchen smelled like bread and spices and something that felt remarkably like home. Thomas looked at his blue-skinned partner, at this refugee who'd lost everything but somehow found her way back to doing what she loved. He thought about his own journey here, about grief and purpose, and the strange way life leads you exactly where you need to be. Same time tomorrow, he asked. Elara smiled. The real smile. The one that reached her eyes. Same time tomorrow. And they turned off the lights and headed to their quarters, knowing that morning would bring hungry people and hot stoves and the simple profound dignity of feeding those who need it most. It wasn't everything, but it was enough. And some days, enough is all you need.